morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Kara. Let me back this up here for a sec. Okay, better. So as Kara introduced me, I'm Mona Hidayet. I am the Executive Director of Clients and Products at Advantage CS, and I'd like to thank Samir very much for the opportunity to be here and to speak with all of you. And I have to say that is the coolest tie I've ever seen. If you've not seen his tie, it is very neat. And before I forget, those toasted coconut sea salt Triscuits were a crack. I remember I went and I got as many as I could, and because they were off the shelves. And they coming?
Boxes left. That's it.
Are they coming back? No, they're not.
We'll see.
All right. So unlike many of you, I don't work for a particular publisher, but I work with several. And I work for Advantage. So for those of you that don't know what Advantage is, we are a subscription and membership software solution provider. We were started by a couple of University of Michigan graduates, go blue, in 1979. And we've got international presence. We've got our headquarters still in Ann Arbor, regional offices in the US and in Europe. So I entered the world of publishing in 2000, and in that time, I've been working with several different publishers, large, small, across different industries and across the globe. And there are a ton of similarities between the publishers. But when Samir told me that the topic of this year's conference was Print Proud, Digital Smart, it was one of the distinctions rather than the similarities that came to mind. And that is the difference between the scholarly publishers and the non-scholarly publishers. So you'd think that the scholarly publishers could learn a thing or two from the non-scholarly because they're a little newer, a little fresher, a little hipper. But I would beg to differ. I'd say for at least 3 reasons, we should really have the non-scholarly world looking at the scholarly world and maybe take a few tips. The first being content. So scholarly publishers went digital in 1997. This was 21 years ago. And they wanted to go digital in a way that would allow them to have fluid data that was semantically searchable and purchasable. So what does that mean? So semantics, we're all used to, we know semantics, right? That's when you type in something in Google, you type in red, it knows that you're thinking about a red apple or a red Ferrari or whatever it is, it reads your mind. Well, the scholars use that same technology to be able to sell their content. So for example, let's say you have a med student, and I work with a lot of medical publishers, so I'm going with the medical example. So you have a student who's doing a research paper on heart disease. Maybe more specifically, they're doing on severe aortic stenosis. They go to the website, they start to type in HE, magically they know that it's severe aortic stenosis, and they're presented with many different ways to access that content. They could access all of the articles and all of the images and all of the graphs on severe aortic stenosis across all the journals that publisher might have. They might have several journals. Maybe it's within one journal. They just want all of the articles within one journal. Or a smattering. From here I want one, there I want one, maybe I just want one, in which case they're presented with the option of doing downloads or a pay-per-view. Well, what they did by modeling it this way is define the difference between digital versus print as time versus issue. So in its origin, digital content is meant to be consumed over time. So sell a day of access, sell 2 weeks of access, sell a month, but it's not meant to technically be issue-based. So what does this give the opportunity for publishers to do? It's true bundling, true packages. So you get true print, true digital. There's a value add in the product, and it's not 2 different formats of kind of the same redundant data. And because it's different at its heart, you never heard the scholarly publishers talking about print is dead, how are we going to get our digital up? It was never an issue because they were never redundant. They were completely different. And they were definitely not for free. They never gave their digital content away for free. As a matter of fact, so I said this is 1997 that they went digital. Fast forward a couple of years, I think 2001, 2, something like that, they started to get the demand for all of the historical data, right? So scholarly publishers have hundreds of years of data. So they wanted everything pre-1997. So they sent all of the journals in their print format to India. They scanned each page, and then they would sell it to the institution, in this case, on a single copy CD for $15,000. This was an incredible spike year for them, and I think in retrospect, they probably wish they'd done it at 5,000 and renew it every year at 5,000, but again, never free. It was a very successful model. The other thing that scholars do extremely well is customer service, but they don't even call a customer, they call them a patron. And a patron, does anyone know the difference between a patron and a customer? Okay, well, I'll tell you. A patron means that somebody has voluntarily come back to you to get your business, to do business with you, because they are pleased with your content. They're actually, now it's at a point where it's support. It's the difference of having somebody who's just buying your content, they're just a buyer, and somebody who's an advocate, and an unpaid one at that, right? They love your content, so they're advocating for it. They tell their friends, they tell their colleagues, they'll tell anybody who'll listen that your content is superior. So the question is, how do the scholars get their customers to become patrons? Well, they listen. So they have something called PDA, which is not exactly what you think. They love their patrons, just not that much. It stands for patron-driven access. In this case, the librarians were a customer, and the librarian said, I don't know what access to buy. I like it all, so give me access to everything. And at the end of my billing period, whatever that is, I'm just going to pay for what was used. And there, patron-driven access was born. They were listening. But they also ask. They want to know the nitty-gritty about their individual customers, whether it's an individual physician or scientist, or, for instance, in an institution. So we're going to go back to the med school example. Well, this thing's got a mind of its own. So we're going to go back to the med school example. If they have that student, they've captured that student, they want to know, where is he going to school? When is he going to graduate? When is he doing his residency? Is he going to do a fellowship? Where is he practicing? How many partners does he have? When is he retiring? They need all of it, because that is the data that allows them to nurture this patron, and nurturing the patron grows the member, which takes me to my third point here, which is membership is something, well, this thing is really touchy. Well, we can read this. Well, they nurture their patrons, but membership is a model that's been extremely successful in the scholarly world. It's old, it's solid, and there's a lot to learn from it. So, is there something that we can learn? There's three things. I think staying connected is very important. So it's getting that nitty-gritty, getting the details, because those are what allow you to offer meaningful benefits to your members, right? Because let's face it, if we take the New England Journal of Medicine or one of those journals we all know, there isn't an intermediate level and an advanced level and a beginning level. It's the same content. Whether you're a student or whether you're retiring, it's the same content. So the only thing that makes the increasing price point worth it is the meaningful benefits. So for example, the American Medical Association, if you're a member, you get a 10% discount at Mercedes-Benz, right? It's meaningful, it makes sense. But third, and I think most important, is they stay authentic to their cause, their flagship publication. What is it there for? That is always at the heart of the membership. At the end of the day, that is why they have the members. So, is there something to learn about membership? I think membership is a fantastic model in the publishing world. I think it's got a ton of potential, primarily because, well, we heard this word over and over again, there's trust. You trust the brand, you trust the magazine. So when you trust something, you're willing to pay for it, you're willing to become a member. Well, how is it unfolding is a different story. So I'm going to give you something that's not too old, actually. Late last year, I was at a great MPA event. It was a one-day event, and there were two speakers. There were multiple speakers, but I'm only going to talk to you about two. One from Meredith and one from Time Inc. This was right before they merged. And they were talking about the recent and successful launches of their membership programs. So Better Homes and Gardens Insider, based on Better Homes and Gardens, launched by Meredith, and People Perks, based on People Magazine. So the guy from Meredith went first. He did a great job explaining everything, all of the benefits. And in there, I didn't get if you got the print, if you got the digital, or if you got both. So I asked the question. And he said that the publication was not part of the membership. well, I thought that was weird. And I don't think I was the only one, because there were a few looks back and forth. But he made sure to tell me that we're not opposed to it, it's just not part of the membership. So then the guy from Time went, and he talked about all of the great things People Perks had. And then he said the same thing, that the People magazine was not part of the membership. And there was even a third service provider there who said that they had a client who was launching a membership program that also did not include the publication. Well, that did not make much sense to me at all. Even if you put yourself in the customer's perspective, are you getting 2 different invoices, or how does that work? I don't know. But is that the true definition of membership as well? I'm not sure. So I had to ask, right? I had to ask, where does this logic come from? So I tracked one of them down during the break, and I'm going to summarize, but he basically said this: well, we're not opposed to having the publication become part of the membership at some point, but right now the membership program is like under marketing. They're ready to launch, they're ready to go now. If we were to involve the publishing arm, we would have to go over here to integrate them and talk to them and come to some kind of agreement. Then we'd need to get finance involved because there are financial implications, and well, yeah, we just needed to get launched. And this is an argument I hear all too often from all of the different publishers that I work with. Siloed departments with siloed technology, and that culture of the silo-ness, if that's a word, making the decisions instead of what makes sense. So, given I work in this on a daily basis, I'm going to kind of describe the silos and their technology as I see it, as a family. First, we would have marketing. So marketing is one of the children, and I can say this because I have a degree in marketing. And marketing is so convinced that there is this one tool that's going to help them make all of their numbers. It's like the best new thing, and they're all about it. They're focused on it until the next tool comes along. Right? So that's your first child. Then we have sales order processing and fulfillment. They are the middle, red-headed stepchild that everyone knows exists kind of somewhere over there, but nobody knows what it is or what they do. But the key here is that the sales order processing and fulfillment is really the diamond in the rough. This is where all of the content that on your customers, if you're trying to make your patrons your customers, at the heart of it, this is where it lives. This is where it is. And all too often I hear, oh, well, we're going to do market research, or we're going to go hire this person, or we're going to build all of these things, we're going to put it in the cloud. But they're overlooking kind of the data that's right there, right in front of them all of the time. So diamond in the rough, but forgotten. Then we have e-commerce. Well, e-commerce would be kind of like the makeup artist of the family. They make you look good, right? Next, we would have finance. So finance is kind of the adult that gets the money and gives you your budget. This is your allowance. This is what you're allowed to do or not make it work. And then we've got customer service. This is mom. She made none of the decisions that result in the phone calls that she's getting every day, but she has to deal with it. Sometimes she has the patience, sometimes she doesn't. 8 p.m. kind of looks like Martha Stewart's closet, right? And then we've got the rest of the family, which is usually not as cute as this, but they're there. And then we have IT. And IT is the nanny of the family, right? So they are vital, but they're never considered part of the family, right? And they have 2 objectives, not by choice, but they have 2 objectives. One is keep everybody alive. Just keep the systems up. Whatever it is, just keep it up. Number 2, make sure that they communicate. I don't care if it's effectively, I don't care if it's sensical, just communicate, right? And then we have the family portrait, right? Which kind of looks like this to me. Somewhat coordinated, but just altogether dysfunctional, right? And the reason I'm highlighting this again is so important. I see way too many decisions based on these kind of siloed company cultured concepts. And I'm a true believer that if this was to change, then the relationship that we would have with our readers would completely change as well. And it would only be better. So I'm going to switch gears and talk to you about something that I've been doing this for 18 years. I was talking about the professional side, but I've been doing this, and this is me, a lot longer, and I've been a subscriber myself for many, many more years than 18. And I'm going to tell you a story of one of my very, very favorite publications. I kind of don't want to give them away, but it rhymes with OMG TV. And when they came out, I loved it. I loved it. It was at a time where they were talking about print is going to die. They did so well despite all of it. I was completely trusted them. I did the auto charge, auto renew. I mean, I was your poster child. I was who you wanted as your reader. And everything was going great for a couple of years until last year. There was a DIY in there, and I didn't have the physical magazine on me, so I thought, oh, I should go and I'll go look in the digital edition. Except I didn't have the digital edition. No big deal. I'll just go get it. So I went to HGTV magazine. Oops, said it. And they had a great website, but there was absolutely no place for me to log in, no place for me to access my account. There's nothing about the subscribers. It was just about HGTV. So I went to Google, and I was typing whatever it is to service my account. And it took me to a page, and the page it met me with this big thing saying, hey, for this much, you would have the digital and the print, which was $1 more per year than I'd been paying for several years. So I felt somewhat insulted, right? Because I've been giving them my money willingly, and for $1 more a year, I could have been getting the digital. Give it to me. You should have just given it to somebody like me, or maybe market it to me heavily. Hey, for $1 more, you could have been getting this. Well, anyways, I got over it, and I got to the account page, and I had the option of canceling, renewing, I think suspension, and this is after I was rerouted to yet another page to be able to do this. But there's no option to just add the digital. So I really had no choice except to cancel my subscription and re-add it. So when I canceled it, they did try to save my account by offering me a subscription for like $1. But it was a subscription I already have. So it really felt canned, right? I'm not going to buy it. Anyways, it was canceled, and then I re-added it. And then the professional in me is thinking, what does this do to the reporting? Like, so you just looks like you lost some kind of long-standing customer, and then you just kind of gained a new one for no reason. And I'm sure that my experience is not unique. I think it probably happens all the time. And when we're kind of faced with these kind of situations that we're not dealing with, we're not facing. So at the end, it made me feel like this. It's good, but it's missing something. Tack on a few sprinkles, and just thought about it. Like, wouldn't it be nice if we could just go to intuitivemag.com and log in, subscribe, self-service, do everything seamlessly in one spot? Get our magazine in 2 to 4 days, not 4 to 6 weeks. This still puzzles me. I still don't understand this one. How about if we did what like the scholars do, access by topic? So you want donut recipes across all of our different magazines? Here's access to it. Or maybe you want it within one of our magazines. Or here, just buy 10 downloads and download your favorite recipes. Or maybe face contouring or painting furniture, but just access by topic. Get personalized marketing efforts, like, hey, for $1 more, you could have been getting all of this digital. And then meaningful, relevant upsells, right? Don't sell me on the magazine I already have. Sell me on something that makes sense. And then again, the true bundles, really being able to bundle your data and sell it. True digital, true print, and maybe with the experiences now, right? And we have clients who are doing this, and everything is expiring together and renewing together. It's seamless, it's great, and it's a beautiful concept. At the end, this just makes the customer feel valued, right? Feel valued. And there's a company in particular that I think it does an excellent job at this. And it's a company that I don't care what industry you're in or where you're from, everyone can learn from it. I'm gonna put this up. Does anybody know who I'm talking about when I put up tires? No. I heard a few. What's that? Nope. No, but I'll tell you a story. So there was a man who bought tires, and it was 1975. He bought 4 tires. He did not like his tires. drove back to the place where the tire store was, realized it's not a tire store anymore, explains to the employees his situation, and they don't sell tires. They gave him a full refund, right? Full refund. This definitely, they've made a customer for life. That store belonged to this shoemaker, who said, very good, who said, we don't have to read the whole thing, but you get the idea. Here, we'll just read the bolded parts. Our commitment is 100% to customer service. If we make a profit, that's great. I know I won't be criticized for taking care of a customer. I will only be criticized if I don't take care of a customer. And that was John Nordstrom. So how many of you shop at Nordstrom's? Wow, look at all the hands. And how many of you think that's the best customer service you've ever gotten? Quite a few hands. They do an excellent job. And it's not because they have unique products or maybe they have a few exclusive things, but that's not what drives the love. It's about the experience. And I was lucky enough to go to a conference last year. It was a membership conference for museums. And it was in Seattle, which is where Nordstrom is headquartered. And their director of customer loyalty was the keynote. And he was the coolest guy ever. He was actually, his background is an Air Force pilot. And then he became director of customer loyalty at Nordstrom's. But anyways, he said three things that really, really resonated with me. And the first is that for marketing, they have something internally called customer rights. They have to make sure that whatever marketing campaign they're doing, they have to make sure that they have the correct customer, the right customer, and deliver the right message at the right time in the right place. And he went on, he gave several examples how they started the rewards program. They just gave everybody across the board, it was financial incentive. Discounts, discounts, discounts. Until they realized that isn't what their customers wanted. So they started to ask a lot of questions about what their customers wanted. And it was, what you found basically was the newbies wanted the financial incentives. The ones who had been there for a long time, or who were loyal customers for many, many years, they just wanted recognition. They just wanted to feel like you know who they are and you say thank you, and they had developed the customer rights to make sure that they were doing the right message at the right time. Second is their org chart is completely upside down. Like Bonnie said, the best ideas don't come from the top, and I think Nordstrom got this. The top of their chart is the customers, what the customers want, and then it filters all the way down to the executive team, who are still, I think, Nordstrom's great-grandsons or grandsons. And third, wouldn't be complete without an Air Force pilot analogy, is high speed, low altitude. So you need a high speed to be able to make your day-to-day operational decisions, but you need to go at a low altitude so you understand what's happening on the ground. And only when you do those two together, you have any kind of situational awareness. So I kind of took this back and I thought about it and came up with a couple of questions that I ask my clients when it's time to kind of think strategy. What is your customer entrusting you to do? Are you being promoted? And how often? And why are you getting fired? Right? And it's somewhat, and they're meant to be somewhat humbling. I don't want to say that publishers are not humbled. They're very humbled. They have amazing content, but there's something about that realizing that the reader is hiring you. They are entrusting you with something and kind of putting yourself in that perspective and then being able to answer the questions and build everything around it, which hopefully then explains my tagline about be scholarly, think and act like a shoemaker. And any questions for me? Go ahead.
Do you think are the big changes that are coming to customer service because of millennials and because of kids my age? Like, what are we expecting that's really different than what's been before in terms of customer service?
In terms of customer service. So I can't speak to that because that's not really what I do. Like, on a regular basis, I'm not dealing with the customers in day in, day out, but I'm saying that they should be listening to you. The question should probably be reversed and say, well, what is it that you expect from customer service? Right? And then that should be implemented. So I can't dictate it, but you can. Yeah, mic drop, should I do that? Bam! Any other questions? Okay,
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you. This is mine.